Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing one of my favorite kind of looks, which is one that's purple, and I'm using the Urban Decay Vice 4 palette. If you want to find out how I got this look, keep watching. So I'm going to start off by priming my face, and I'm using the MAC Prep and Prime, and I'm just going to apply this all over my face using my fingers. The only other thing I've done so far is I've filled in my eyebrows using the L'Oreal Brow Artist Shaper in the shade Blonde. I did this off camera just because I'm not quite comfortable doing my brows with a pencil yet. Then I'm going to go in with my favorite foundation of all time, which is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte in the shade Classic Ivory. So I'm just going to go ahead and dot this all over my face. I really love this foundation because it's actually a demi-matte finish, so it controls my oil, but at the same time my skin still looks like skin. It doesn't have that super unrealistic matte look to it, so it's great for everyday wear. Once I have the foundation everywhere where I want it, I'm going to go in with the Morphe M439 brush and just blend that all over my face. So I'm mostly going to go around in circular motions and blend into my neck and around my hairline. So once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to move on to concealer. For concealer, I'm using my favorite concealer, which is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer, and this is in the shade Fair Neutral. So I'm just going to apply this under my eye in almost a bit of a triangle shape. I don't do a full triangle because I find that this concealer is very pigmented, so I don't need to use that much. And then I'm going to be blending that in with an e.l.f. small stipple brush. So I'm going to blend that towards the edge of my face so it gives my skin a slight highlighted effect. As well, I'm also blending to make sure that there's no harsh edges or lines and everything's seamlessly blended in with the foundation that I'd previously applied. Then I'm going to set my concealer using the Maybelline FitMe Matte and Poreless Translucent Powder. So I'm going in with a Real Techniques setting brush under my eyes to make sure that my concealer doesn't crease. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to use a bigger, fluffier powder brush and apply it all over my face. This will set my foundation and make sure that I stay matte, as well as make sure that any other makeup I apply blends smoothly into the powder rather than onto the cream foundation. Then I'm going to go in with the Maybelline Baby Lips Dr. Rescue in the shade Too Cool, and this is just going to prevent my lips from chapping and drying out throughout the day. Now I'm going to apply the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in the shade Original to my eyelids. So I'm just putting a teeny tiny amount on my eyelids using the doe foot applicator, and then I'm going to go in using my fingers and blend this all in. This is going to keep my eyeshadow from creasing and smudging and disappearing throughout the day. Typically when I go to wash my makeup off at the end of each day, my eyeshadow looks exactly the same as I did when I applied it. Once I have the eyeshadow primer blended in, I'm going to let that set, and I'm going to move on to contouring. So I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit in the shade Light to Medium, and I'm going to go in with the shade Fawn, which is the cool toned contour color in the kit. So I'm going to go in using the Morphe G3 brush, and I'm just going to contour the hollows of my cheeks. I really love this brush because it kind of gives a nice subtle highlight, and it blends it in effortlessly, so there's not a lot of blending that I actually have to do. Once I'm done with contouring, we're going to move on to the fun part, which is the eyes. So I'm using the Urban Decay Vice 4 palette, and I'm mostly going to be using purple shades for this look. So I'm starting off using the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush, and I'm using the shade Framed. So this is just going to be my transition shade, and it's just a nice skin toned color, but a bit on the warm side. Once I'm done that, I'm going to go directly over top of it with the same brush using the shade Robbery. So this is almost like a silvery type of shade, and it's going to go well with the purples I'm about to use. Then I'm going to go in using a MAC 242 shader brush, and I'm going to be using the shade Harlot. This is a nice light purple satin shade, and I'm just going to apply this to the inner half of my eye. So I'm going to make sure that's nice and pigmented, and then I'm going to go in using the shade Pandemonium, which is a darker purple, and it's more of a sparkly shade. So I'm just going to be applying that to the outer half of my eye. I'm not really worrying too much about blending the two shades into each other at this point because I am going to be putting a third color over top, but I'm just going to go in once more to make sure that I've built up the color enough, because I do want the outer half to be distinctly darker than the first half. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go back in with the shade Harlot again, and using the same MAC 242 brush, I'm just going to apply a little bit more to the inner half of my eye, just to build up that pigment just a little bit more, because I am going to be adding a third color, and I do want them all to stand out from each other just a little bit. So then I'm going in using the shade Underhand, and I'm just applying that to the center part of my eye. So as you can see, it's more of a middle purple shade, and not only is it adding a little bit of color to the middle, but it's also blending the two shades together as well. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to go back in with Harlot again just to make sure I didn't lose any color. And I'm going to go back in with Pandemonium as well and blend that into the middle shade as well. Once I'm finished with the lid, I'm going to go back in using the shade Robbery on that Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush and just diffuse out the edges and make sure there's no harsh lines. Unfortunately, the footage of me applying the eyeshadow and the eyeliner to my under eye was completely off camera, so I am going to get back to that shortly. But in the meantime, I'm applying the Eyeko Black Magic Mascara to my eyelashes, both top and bottom. I got this mascara in a Birchbox and I'm absolutely loving it. It's a water-resistant formula and it's an extreme carbon black. It seriously lasts all day and it gives my eyelashes a nice curl. So I'm just going to apply 2 coats to each eye, and then we will move on to the brows. I'm going to go in using the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Plumper in my brows, and this is in the shade light to medium, and I'm just gently running this through my brows. So this is going to set the penciling that I had done earlier, and it'll make sure that my brows stay in place all day. Once my brows are set, I'm going to highlight the brow bone using theBalm's Mary-Lou Manizer, and I'm going to be using a Morphe E14 brush. So I'm just going to take just a little bit because this is a very pigmented highlighter and just apply that to the brow bone on both eyes. So when I did the under eye, I used the Sigma E30 pencil brush and I put Harlot on the inner third, I put Underhand in the middle, and I put Pandemonium on the outer third of the eye. And then I went in using the Urban Decay Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Psychedelic Sister, and I put that into my waterline. So that goes over the footage that was missing. I go in and highlight using the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Ethereal Light, and I'm using the Morphe M501 brush. So I'm just applying this to the high points of my cheeks, and it is a very subtle glow that doesn't really show up that well on camera, but when I look at myself in the mirror, you really can see a very natural looking glow to the cheekbones. Once I'm done highlighting, I'm going to take the Urban Decay Afterglow 8-Hour Powder Blush in the shade Rapture and apply this to my cheeks. So I'm going to be using a Morphe E4 brush, and I'm just going to tap this onto my cheeks and blend as I apply it. So this is a very pigmented product and it blends like a dream, so you don't really have to apply that much. But I'm just going to gently buff it in as I apply it. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to move on to using a fan brush just to make sure that everything's blended together so that the highlight and the blush and the contour all are blended together, as well as this is going to make sure that any excess blush or powder is swept off of my face. Then for the final touch, I'm going to use the MAC lipstick in the shade Up the Amp, which is one of their amplified creams, and I'm just going to apply this directly onto my lips. I don't tend to use a lip liner, but I do find that this shade lasts fairly long. I mean, even when it does start to disappear, it almost fades as it goes, so it doesn't give you that awkward half lipstick kind of look. And this is the completed look. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!